It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast.
On this edition of Josh Kirby on Sports, capping off a memorable weekend with Team USA Women's winning the World Cup. We have a look at the All-Star Game and Home Run Derby, and we have more NBA free agency talk. We have a special guest in store, so stay tuned. Catch you on the other side.
Oh, indeed. I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby, on Sports Podcast.
All right, welcoming you inside another edition of the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast, part of the Mayo Please Podcast Network. As always, my podcast is sponsored by Route 11 Chips. Make sure you find them in stores, Martin's, Food Lion, and Giant. Really good chips. Try back today. I'm here as always with my good man Dan Dembski. Dan, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to see you.
It is an absolute honor to be here, Mr. Kirby. Thank you for the invite again.
Finishing up classes.
Yeah, just got done.
On your Wix site, reporting about news and
local stuff.
Not really sports, which is boring. But
no, couldn't really do any sports with this class this summer.
But
that's okay. That's okay.
It's still interesting.
And it's good. It's good experience.
We're gonna get Dan on the sports reporting booth here soon, and we have a special guest to start off the show. Her name's Claudia Faust. She's the host of the podcast A League of Our Own, a really great podcast. So make sure you go check that out. I'm not sure where it's on, but yeah, I'll figure that out. And she's also an intern for DBTV for the Arizona Diamondbacks and an aspiring sports broadcaster like the rest of us here. So I'll let her introduce herself and talk about the podcast. So Claudia, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's a great
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a great pleasure to have you on. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. I've listened to some of it and I still think it's pretty new if I'm correct. So tell me what you do and what the focus of your podcast is about.
Yeah, so I do the podcast with one of my best friends. Her name's Brady King. You should go check her out too. We basically met in our master's program at ASU. We both also interned for DBTV, so we basically lived the same life. Like, she actually got engaged like a week before me. So people always confuse us because if you just describe us and not see us, we're like the same person. But we're always talking, I guess just the same way all podcasters are. We were just always talking sports, and we listened to the same podcast, and we just, I guess, wanted to start our own. So the sports and lifestyle podcast, we wanted it to be geared towards women in sports or working in sports. So that's kind of how our first season went, but we're trying to broaden our horizons in our second season, get some more people on the interview. So we're kind of in the process now of getting to interview some of the other people that work for the Diamondbacks in higher up positions and stuff on our podcast. But yeah, it was just out of our own like natural selves wanting to talk about sports, and we're like, we might as well just record it.
Very cool.
Yes, same thing for me. I started writing who knows how long ago, just on a blog on a free website maker, and then I was like, this is boring. I want to talk about sports, and I'm just so glad I've gotten this far about it with it. So tell us a little bit about your internship with the Diamondbacks. What's that like for you?
Yeah, the internship's really awesome. So I basically when I was choosing my master's program, mind you, I was coming from my undergraduate in Florida in Boca Raton. So I still had spring training around me, but spring training in Florida is pretty spread out. And ASU it's one of, if not the best, sports broadcast master's program. And I was like, hey, that's in Phoenix. That's in the center of spring training in Arizona. So I knew I wanted to come out here, and either I'd have the opportunity to land an internship or work a job over spring training with the team, or just land a full-time internship or job with the Diamondbacks. So I kind of came out here with that goal and fortunately achieved it. I think I had a pretty good resume going into it, so I did feel pretty confident about it. But yeah, so it's a lot of production stuff. Starting out in spring training was a lot of interviewing players and getting like hype videos out and just getting people excited for the season. But now it's a little bit more of like game day production. So DBTV is essentially like our scoreboard, or our video board is what we actually call it. And it's basically just running the show that you see like in between innings, and like the hype videos and music videos that we put up. So some days I'll actually be the one that's feeding everything to the video board. Other days I'll be doing like closed captioning, which is important because some people can't hear the video board. And then, yeah, I mean, some days I get to actually shoot the game, or we might have, I can tell you about my favorite day on the internship so far, which surprised me. Besides spring training, because spring training is like the best time of year. That's like Christmas for me. But just about a week ago, we had Make-A-Wish come in and grant I believe he was 5 years old, grant his wish to be a Diamondbacks player for the day. So my entire day was just documenting him, like experiencing being a Diamondbacks player. And it was
so
just,
cool.
yes, and it was so cute, and he was so adorable and so happy. I believe he's actually okay. I think he's in remission. But it was just the sweetest thing, and the players are just, it's really nice to see players like just treat someone with such kindness. There were a few players that you could just tell went really out of their way to make him feel special and part of the team, and just, it's really cool that I get to experience stuff like that, and I definitely wouldn't if it wasn't for this position with the D-backs.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
That is really amazing. Make-A-Wish, by the way. So you're in a position around the players and around the game. So tell us a little bit about what it's like on a game day for you there in Arizona.
Yeah, so it depends on the day and what job I'm working. So there's 5 other people, including my co-host of our podcast, Brady. She's also in the same internship. So we rotate through jobs. Everybody's favorite job to be on is utility, because that's when you're really involved in the game. You're shooting pregame, so anything interesting we might be doing for like pre-open, getting the guys running out of the dugout onto the field, shooting defense, shooting offense. But it's just, you feel really, I think what I've realized is I like working for a team because you feel really connected. Like a lot of the players know my name, which like blew my mind. I was like, oh, I didn't even
That's
like,
awesome.
I thought I was like just the intern and stuff like that. And like some of them will be messing with me and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that's kind of cool, but whatever. I
Almost
kind of
like-
see based.
Almost like you're part of the team in that sense.
Exactly. And
So
I've
cool.
never felt like starstruck. The first interview I ever did with a professional athlete was I interned at NBC4 in Washington, D.C. And my very first like time out on the field, I interviewed, not like solo interviewed, and like the whole group of every reporter for every station, but I interviewed and asked Bryce Harper like 2 questions, and I was just not starstruck at all. And I think it's just because I like having my fiance played minor league baseball for so long. So for me, it's just so normal to be around baseball players, and like I know the stuff that they go through, and I just see them as, I don't know. I don't think I'd get starstruck by any athlete except for like LeBron James probably.
Oh wow.
But
yeah. So
I have not met him.
yeah, so being in a position around all those players and you get to know them pretty well. What is that like being around like the players, like the big name players on TV that play for the D-backs game after game? What is that like getting to be around them each and every day?
I mean, it's really awesome. Like you guys said, it is feeling like it's part of the team. Like I know things about like certain players that, I mean, we advertise it too, but like Eduardo Escobar is like terrified of cats. So like I get to be around when like David Peralta is like bringing a fake cat out onto the field and like pranking him and stuff like that. And like sometimes I'm in on the joke, like they're whispering to me like, don't tell him what we're about to do. And it's just kind of funny. I'm also Venezuelan, so some of the players have caught on to that. So the Venezuelan players are always teasing me because I don't speak the best Spanish. I do speak Spanish, but it is just really cool. And I think if more people were in this position, they would also feel less starstruck because like you're really seeing like the real side of players and what their like pregame routine is like and how they really interact with players, because when you pan over to the dugout in a game, you're only seeing 5 seconds of what's really happening.
Hey, I wanted to ask a question for you.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, unfortunately I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan, and so
Yeah.
for several years I got to watch Adam Jones, longtime Baltimore Oriole, now plays for the
Yes.
Diamondbacks. Have you gotten to talk to him personally or interview him in any capacity? I guess my question is he I mean, he seems like he really does a lot of good stuff for a lot of philanthropy and stuff for the community. And I was just wondering if you have that impression of him too, or what the case is there.
So surprisingly enough, he's one of the players I've talked to the least. Because I speak Spanish, oftentimes my boss or people in my department will have me around whenever we're doing stuff with the Latin players. So I definitely, I don't want to say know them a lot better because it's not like we're besties or anything, but they're the ones that I have gotten to like interview and be around, and
Right.
like I'm always involved with that stuff. So Adam Jones is probably left for maybe other interns have interviewed him more. I'm not sure. He is for sure a good guy. He's actually kind of quiet from what I've noticed, but I don't know if I'm just projecting. But the only conversation we've had was about sneakers, because I really liked a pair of his sneakers once, and he liked a pair of mine, and I love sneakers. So that's the one conversation I've actually had with him. But he's been a huge, huge plus for our team, especially just defensively.
Absolutely.
I swear he can catch anything. Like, it's just crazy. I've seen him rob like probably 2 home runs, which might not sound like a lot, but like when you see what it looked like, it was pretty wild.
That's amazing. You guys definitely got a great one in Adam Jones. So that was really the only question that popped into my head. I don't know if I think Josh probably has more. But.
It's really great what you do down there. So before we move on to some of our sports topics, tell the my fans where to find your podcast so they can go out and take a listen.
Yeah, so we are in the process of trying to figure out how to get it on iTunes. So until then, you can go to my website, which is claudiafaust.com. That's F as in Frank, A-U, S as in Sam, T as in Tom.com. And we also promote it on our Instagrams and stuff, so you can definitely check it out there. It's a lot of fun, and we're planning on having some guests on in the near future from our department at the Diamondbacks, so it should be really fun.
Oh, room for one more on the guest train for a league of our own, maybe.
Yeah.
There most definitely is.
All right. Name drop if you ever need somebody. But moving on, 4th of July weekend ended with a huge bang on Sunday morning with Team USA, United States women's national team, winning it all twice in a row with a 2-0 shutout against the Netherlands. The game was
2-0.
2-0. Thank
you.
2-0. But anyways, the game was tight. No score the first half. Second half, it was tight up until the
61st minute.
Yeah, 61st minute. And there was a VAR booth review that overturned a kick inside the goalie's box. I don't know soccer terms, so bear with me here, podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, but Video review turned it into a goal kick, and Megan Rapinoe just
Absolutely juked out.
Yeah.
Oh,
goalie.
yeah.
juked the goal.
That was great.
And after that, another goal, the 69th minute by Rose Lavelle, and that was the dagger for Team USA. They end up winning. So whoever's going first, let me get your thoughts on this Team USA women's victory.
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky. I got to watch the game. It was 7 a.m. my time, which I was kind of annoyed about because every other game up until this past weekend was at noon for me. So suddenly it was at 7 a.m. And this is like after getting home from a D-backs game at 1 a.m., waking up, going to church, coming back, catching. I actually started watching, I think, at the 40-minute mark. Made it in time to start watching the game and had to leave at, I think, the 90th minute. So I was like, all right, well, we're locked in now. But I felt lucky that I actually got to make it work, even though it was a 7 a.m. game for me. But it was ridiculous. From what I saw, the Netherlands just didn't really stand a chance, which is kind of unfortunate. It didn't even feel close to me. Like the number of shots on goal that I saw the Netherlands take versus the United States States was just so dominant.
Yeah.
So I knew from even before they scored a goal that it was a shutout.
Yeah. So United States with a historic run. As you know, they shut out, who was it again? Sweden? No.
Yes.
The 13-0 shutout.
Thailand.
Yes, Thailand. And yeah, I haven't been keeping track that much, but yeah, that 13-0 shutout.
They had 4 straight shutouts.
Yeah. And they only gave up 3 goals the entire World Cup.
Yeah, their defense was solid. Their backline defense was really incredible.
They're a crazy team. And
like Claudia mentioned, they just controlled possession, especially in the second half of that game. It was I don't know how long they had the ball on their side of the field, but it seemed like every time you turned around, the U.S. had possession of it because the Netherlands just couldn't hold it. They just kept turning it over, or, just having bad passes and stuff like that. So the U.S.'s defense, I think, is what really helped propel them throughout the World Cup, minus that 13-0 game, which is, that's just unbelievable. So, it was just an all-around great performance throughout the World Cup by this team, and they definitely earned it. So,
yeah, they definitely did. I don't know if you guys got to catch the Sweden United States, or sorry, not the Sweden, the Sweden United States game that was on I believe it was Alex Morgan's 30th birthday. She scored 2 goals.
Oh yeah. No, that was England. No, I'm getting these games confused.
No,
that was England, wasn't it?
Especially after the fact.
Was that England?
What?
It was England. It was England.
Yes,
sorry, now I'm the one getting confused.
Yeah,
no, you're on it.
Yeah, it was her birthday, and she scored like 2 goals, and then she sipped a cup of tea.
That's right.
That's exactly.
You know how far back the United States and England go, besides soccer.
You don't have to remind us of history lessons here.
Yeah. Let alone right around Independence Day. I don't think it was as controversial as people thought. Like, I think based on everything that I was reading, like the number of I guess English people that came out and were just like, hey, like, we admit it was funny. Like, we drink tea. That's just I don't think there was any offense actually taken. Like, I think some people can be overly sensitive, and, I'm just like, what would they have done? God knows what England might have done if we won. So it's just kind of like, hey, it's the nature of the game. It's a fun time, and it's her 30th birthday. Let her drink her tea.
Exactly. And I think there's an overreaction with celebrations in any sport, honestly. It's and someone's always going to be upset, and sometimes I think the media jumps to that, especially in sports. I mean, it happens everywhere, but in sports there's this immediate sort of backlash from the ESPNs of the world. Maybe it wasn't ESPN. It was more of I guess independent people who work for different sports companies and all that, who were saying they were offended. But you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's the World Cup. Let them have fun. That's the way I see it. You know, they've trained their whole
Sometimes
lives for this, and that's just how it is.
sometimes I think it's just clickbait. Like, I'm like, is anybody
Yes.
really upset about this, or did we create some sort of way to just get more attention to it, even though
Oh my gosh.
nobody really cares?
With the internet these days, you
Couldn't
never
agree
know.
more.
It could just be clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but stats for you here. Megan Rapinoe, the second American to win the Golden Boot
Since 1999.
Man, in a well-deserved Golden Boot, and so I think she won like 3 pieces of hardware or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was ridiculous. The amount of awards, and it's just great to see United States win another World Cup twice in a row. We definitely are lucky, and hopefully they'll continue that success for a long while.
I think they will.
We set the record for the most goals in a women's World Cup.
Yeah,
That's right.
I
So we
saw
got
that
that
too.
one.
Which
That's
which is amazing, and hopefully in the next 4 years the USA will be just as good and they can three-peat. That would be amazing.
I would be here for that.
Which has never happened, I don't believe. I think the most is twice in a row from what I've seen. But because the US is only the second team to ever do it. Who was the other team? It was Germany?
I don't know.
I don't know. I saw it yesterday. It's all USA.
Sounds
baby,
like
you
it
know
could
what I
be
mean?
right.
Yeah, I think it's Germany, but I'd have to double check on that one.
Yeah, and you know something funny? Then USA played Mexico in the Gold Cup after the
Yep.
World Cup, and Mexico shut them out 1-0.
Yeah, our men's team is pretty poor, so we're not gonna talk about that because
After Jurgen Klinsmann, it wasn't that good. I remember the days where
they blamed him for everything, and then they got 2 managers after him, and they were even worse. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
See, I think it's funny because
Anyway,
I think it's funny because my parents were watching the Copa America, which is like just a whole nother tournament. And I was like, you guys are watching the wrong one. Like, we don't have a single team playing in that. Like, you got to be watching the women's. And I mean,
That's
we
right.
grew up in my family watching soccer because both of my parents are not from the United States. So the sport that this is the only sport I grew up watching. Actually, I didn't get into baseball until I even met my fiance. So I was just laughing at them like, you guys have this all wrong. Like, you got to be cheering for the women right now. You know, I'm like, we're watching Copa America. To be fair, my mom is from Venezuela, and it was the first time the Venezuelan national team had made it into like a major tournament.
Cool.
So, but by the time they got knocked out, I was like, all right, you got to switch over and watch the women. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Team USA wins it. Great way to cap off 4th of July weekend. And we're moving on. The All-Star game, the All-Star break is coming up. It's actually up. It's here. Yep.
It is
here. Long day. But anyways, our thoughts on the first half of the season. I'm a Nats fan. You're an O's fan. You're probably gonna say
I'm not even going to talk about my team, so we can go ahead and.
Yeah, we'll just.
It's been rough.
He'll take a hall pass during this segment,
yeah.
but and the All-Star game, I have the All-Star lineups here, and just overview how you think the All-Star game will go,
Breaking
Claudia, and the first half of the season so far.
Well, so first half of the season, working for the D-backs, it's been fun, but obviously our record is not exactly where we want it to be. We're weird. We do very well on the road, and then we come home and I don't know what happens. Our pitching doesn't come through, our hitting doesn't come through. This past weekend though, we swept the Rockies, and they actually swept us the last 2 times at home. So that was big for us. So as far as that goes, like, I'm thinking about it from a work perspective just because that's the team I'm working for. So I'm kind of, they're probably not going to play in the postseason. I've accepted that. It's fine. But I'm an Indians fan, and we're in second place in the Central right now. But it's crazy because the Twins are ridiculous this season, and they came out of left field, right? And I'm just like, who thought the Indians were going to be competing with the Twins? I was not ready for that.
Yeah, that's It's been surprising to say the least. Yeah, but you guys are in second place. I don't know if you'll catch the Dodgers. They're just incredibly stacked. But you never know. That wild card spot gets a little interesting, especially in the second half of the season. So I think you'll have a shot to make it. You never know.
Well, it's the Indians are in second place in the Central Division in the American League. I think the D-backs we are in second place, actually, now that I think about it. You're right. But, yeah, being in the same division as the Dodgers and the Rockies is kind of intimidating.
Right.
Yep. You can't compete with the Dodgers except for if you're in the World Series, because you know how the Dodgers are in postseason play.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, All-Star Weekend kicking off. The Home Run Derby is tonight. Bryce Harper will not be in it, and I'm glad because he won it for Washington. You know, Bryce Harper hasn't been playing too well recently. He probably wouldn't even advance past the first round of the Home Run Derby.
Well, I seem to think that the Home Run Derby is a little bit – you might be able to hit like 25 bombs in game, but like once it's kind of more BP style, I feel like it's more like anything goes. So
a lot more pressure.
It's a little bit harder to say, but one thing that I will say kind of like rubs me the wrong way is that Vlad Guerrero Jr. is in the Home Run Derby.
Yeah.
He only has 8 home runs. I'm like everybody else has at least 20, so that's how you know it's kind of become
I saw that.
Yeah, it's just a popularity contest. I think now that it's just like you can vote in whoever you want. Like he's popular. He's obviously got a really famous name behind him. So who knows? He might show up and impress. But yeah, I'm rooting for. I think Peter Alonso is just kind of like a clear. I mean, he's going to be Rookie of the Year. He's ridiculous. And then Acuna. I actually funny story lived with him in Australia when my fiance was playing for the Australian Baseball League. They lived together, so I spent about almost 2 months living with them. So yeah, definitely rooting for him, but should be an interesting home run derby. I have Alonso winning the whole thing though, and I'm an Indians fan. I have Santana at second, but it's like I think it'll be Alonso.
Yeah, so moving on to the All-Star game, we have lineups for both the NL and the AL teams, and in my opinion, every year the AL wins. I could be wrong, but
the AL's stronger.
Yeah, the AL is always stronger, but I think the NL All-Stars have a shot this year with Christian Yelich and Freddie Freeman.
Wait, is Yelich playing in the All-Star game? Because I know he hurt his back and he wasn't participating in the home run derby.
That's right.
He's not participating in the
Did
derby.
they change that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's playing in the game or not.
Did they switch him out of the game? I just realized that.
I don't know. Like I said, I was trying to find something definitive. All I know is he's not participating in the derby itself. But I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that
real quick.
Do we have any insight on that, Claudia, or is he still leading off in the All-Star lineup?
I have not heard anything changing, and I am constantly getting MLB notifications to my phone. So unless I've missed one, I have no update for you guys. So sorry to disappoint.
No, you're fine. All I see is again the home run derby. I don't see anything about the game itself.
Yeah, I don't see anything here. So as far as we know, he's still playing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't doubt it if he's a last second scratch, though. Honestly.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's just an all-star game. It's not like it's a.
Yeah, the All-Star game's a lot more lax now that it doesn't determine home field advantage.
Which I always thought was dumb, anyways. To be honest, I always thought that was a stupid rule.
Especially if you are going to make it so fans can vote, because you're going to get teams like, I mean, the Cubs have such a huge fan base. Like, if it came down to that, like, it just wouldn't feel fair, because you're basically just determining where the World Series is happening based on a popularity contest, like I said.
Exactly. And then on the AL side, you got so many Yankees players every year too. It's the same thing. The Cubs in the NL and the Yankees in the AL, it's just not fair. But it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the right move not having it determined that anymore.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've seen the lineups, Claudia. Do you have any
Yes.
predictions on which one is stronger and who you think's gonna win this year?
Oh my gosh. Okay, which one is stronger? I mean, I think it's the NL. I think they have a really, really strong lineup this year. Okay, first of all, Ketel Marte, he's our second baseman for the Diamondbacks. So excited that he was voted in. I think he's one of those players that I think just kind of like flies under the radar, but I mean, he's hit 20 bombs. He has 53 RBI. He's hitting 311. And his defense is just ridiculous. So he's just kind of one of those players that you don't really hear about. But I'm hoping this All-Star game really shows people this is the type of player he is. But the National League has Cody Bellinger in right field, and with Nolan Arenado, ridiculous. I don't really think that there's a better third baseman. Acuna's got a lot of power. Freddie Freeman's got a lot of power. They have Baez, Yelich. They make up. I think it's kind of a done deal with the National League. I don't really see. The American League has Mike Trout and of course Carlos Santana, who I'm a huge fan of. But I just think overall, offensively, the National League has definitely got the upper hand. But I might be wrong. You never know.
Yeah, it's true. Those games are always interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this is, what a powerful lineup it is, but it's a shame that the only year Anthony Rendon gets elected into the All-Star game he ends up having a lingering injury and doesn't play.
At least you had someone.
It's the All-Star game though.
Yeah, I was interning in DC the year that they were really pushing him to go to the All-Star game. They had all the T-shirts and stuff like that, and obviously he didn't make it, and everybody was super bummed out. So I've been rooting for him for the last 2 years, and then finally I was like, yes, he made it. It's about time. And it is. Yeah. I'm disappointed with you. Don't worry.
Well deserved regardless, but it's the All-Star game, and a case in point, we need you for the second half. So stay healthy.
Yeah. Especially if you have an injury that's lingering too. You wanna get that straightened out, or at least on the mend, before you even think about playing any more baseball.
Yeah, and
it still takes a toll on you regardless.
And I know from experience obviously minor league is quite a bit different from Major League, but the All-Star break, whether you're in the All-Star game or not, is still a break, and everybody needs it. So either way, I'm sure he's not as crushed as the fans are. I'm sure he's just hey, I've got a week off of baseball. I'm going to chill and just enjoy this regardless. So I guess if there's any fans out there that are disappointed, I'm sure he's still having a good time.
Absolutely. It's not like he can't say he was voted on the All-Star team either. He still has that recognition. He just didn't get to play in the game, which I assume you still get the thing on your Wikipedia page or whatever for making it in the All-Star.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. And
we'll have to check it out in a couple days and we'll let you know.
Yeah. And Max Scherzer, he doesn't need to prove anything.
Here we go, the Nationals fan again.
He's going to go out and gas 100 if he was still in the lineup, but he doesn't. He just had a kid, so
he doesn't need to play.
He doesn't need to prove anything. Mm-hmm. But other than that,
he's been unreal.
Yeah, I know. With a black, I got to get your thoughts on this too, Claudia. He broke his nose off a bunt, and he starts.
I know. I think he was just I think he was showing off a little bit or something. I was at a D-backs game and I looked over and they were showing the replay and I was like, oh, he definitely just broke his nose. And I got to say, I kind of laughed. That's so bad of me, but I was just
I don't know how he did it.
Bunting in BP. Well, yeah, it's just, I feel bad. I shouldn't laugh, but it is kind of funny.
Oh, it was.
What happens when pitchers try to bat?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't taking it seriously. He was screwing around, I think, and then
Definitely.
Just right off the end of the bat, right to his face.
Yeah, but
I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah, but who's gonna think a bunt's gonna come back and hit you in the face?
I mean, no one.
You're a pro baseball player.
But you don't bunt like that. I mean, you learned literally how to bunt. You know.
True.
He kind of like he did this sort of number where he like holds it like a. I don't know how he was holding it, but.
Well, I think it just makes his face all the more distracting because now it's like, do I look at the green eye, do I look at the brown eye, or do I look at the broken nose?
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That
definitely adds to his personality. So
yeah. So Claudia, moving on to the AL All-Star lineup. Who do you like in that one?
Well, once again, because I'm an Indians fan, I've got to say Santana is definitely my favorite. Going into it. Also, he's not, unlike a lot of the other players I talk about, he's not underrated. Like, I do think he deserves to be in there. Everybody knows it. So I'm not so disappointed. Or I don't even know what I'm saying now, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to see him in there. But yeah, I just can't stop looking at the Nationals lineup or the National League lineup. But yeah, Santana looks good. I think Gary Sanchez was obviously going to be in catcher. I think this lineup was pretty predictable, with the exception of Mike Trout. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody that's in here, everybody could have expected. Mike Trout, obvious. Carlos Santana, pretty obvious. Gary Sanchez, pretty obvious. Happy to see that Alex Bregman's he's third base, right? Yeah, I think Bregman's in third base. But yeah, I think their lineup was good. I just think that the thing that they're lacking against the National League is just offensive power. I think they've got real power hitters in the National League lineup, and there's just, a couple in the American League, which doesn't necessarily win the ball game because if you can't hit a home run, you're probably striking out. So,
especially the game now, yeah, that's just how
exactly
it is. It's go big or go home.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You almost never know. Like, you could look at the two lineups and think, like, I think it's pretty obvious that the National League lineup is better, but who knows? We could get blown out. And by we, I'm not really rooting for the National League, but I'm just saying they're going to be better. I kind of, I'm a D-backs and Indians fan, so I'm kind of just like, I want Santana to do well, I want Marte to do well, and then everything else I'm just kind of like, as far as baseball goes, I'm pretty not biased. I like the Indians pretty much above everyone else, and now the Diamondbacks, and then aside from that, I just want to see a good baseball game.
There you go. Well, you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can tell a lot of Astros fans voted in this.
Definitely.
This ridiculous. I mean, George Springer. I mean, that's not really surprising. Bregman. You could make a case for another third baseman, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Michael Brantley, like that one to me is kind of surprising, but
it didn't totally surprise me. But once again, as an Indians fan, I was like, Polanco over Lindor. Lindor has so much power, and he's so ridiculous shortstop. So I was just like, oh. But he played in the last two, I believe. So I guess I can take the season off from watching Lindor in the All-Star game. But I think that if it wasn't, and I'm taking my bias out of this, I think if it wasn't a fan voting system, that it actually would be Lindor at shortstop, just because the numbers are there.
For sure.
Yeah, but it takes all the fun out of it if the fans can't vote you in.
Exactly, because the whole thing is put on for the fans. So I understand that you want the right players to be there, but I do think the MLB would benefit from some sort of system of keeping, like, almost like, I don't know, if you had like the Hall of Fame committee having a certain percentage of the vote so that they could kind of lean it in a more realistic direction, such as not having Vlad Guerrero Jr. in the home run derby when he probably shouldn't be. Like, if it could have been swayed some way by like people who are not just there for the name, but actually like look at the stats and look at the numbers and look at the potential and think, well, this dude has 8 home runs and everyone else has at least 20. So I'm thinking we should try and sway the vote so it doesn't work that way.
And maybe they'll throw him some juiced baseballs so he can keep up with the rest of the home run derby.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but you guys are gonna come back and laugh at me if he ends up winning the whole thing because I'm like, oh, he shouldn't be in it.
That's the weird thing about the home run derby is it's hard to predict a winner most of the time.
Oh, it is.
I predicted Bryce Harper, and I was right.
Well, because you're a Nationals fan, of course you picked Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I knew he was going to win.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he won.
I know. Trust me, I know. And
So-
what's he done since that? How are his stats?
I don't care. He's a Philly now.
I know, exactly.
That's when he peaked and then just came down
True.
real fast.
Yep.
True.
Yeah, and John Walton of the Caps, when the Caps were still playing, the Caps were playing the Flyers, and they showed something on the Flyers video board saying, "Welcome to Philly, Bryce." And John Walton was complaining because, like, oh, Bryce Harper isn't even here. I don't know his exact words, but he said, yeah, he'll be hitting somewhere around 230 by Memorial Day. And he was hitting 229.
Yeah, he's played pretty poorly. So
yeah, but I thought that was crazy. John Walton just said that. But Claudia, I want to get your thoughts for the All-Star game with the on-field interviews, like with the outfielders talking in the microphones. What are your thoughts on that? For fan engagement and stuff, since you do stuff like that for the Diamondbacks?
I mean, I think overall, anytime when you can humanize an athlete, that is always going to be better for every team in the MLB or any team anywhere, for NFL, NHL, all of that. I can tell you, like, the reason I got into baseball is because I met so many of, like, my fiance's like teammates and stuff like that, and got to learn about their backgrounds, especially the Latin guys that lived really tough lives, to be honest. So I think that's how I kind of started getting into it, because I was like, this is so much more than just a sport, especially when you think about how tough it is to get into baseball and actually succeed and make it to the show. It's just crazy. So I think anytime that, and it doesn't have to always be so serious. Sometimes you can interview a player and ask him if he had one meal for the rest of his life, what it would be. I guarantee you fans would love that. So I think anytime that you can just take some time off of the field, talk baseball and not talk baseball, you're definitely going to be just, increasing fan engagement, because that's what people want to see. They want to feel like they know their favorite player. And
I love that.
Yeah, I think, and I think a lot of times it's the less serious, less baseball-oriented things that people really want to know. Because if you're a fan, you're already watching them play. You know how they're doing. You're rooting for them. But then you also want to know, like, do they like mac and cheese or spaghetti better? I don't know.
I love that's I love what you said about humanizing the athletes, because we grow up in this world where they're like, to some people, they look up to these athletes and celebrities and whatever, and they're just like out of our reach. Like, we're not even human. They're not even human compared to us. So I like that sort of aspect of it, where the announcers get to, like, kind of not heckle the players, but just have fun with them. And
I
what's
would
really
like it
funny
if
is
they heckled the players.
especially on the other team, or when I love it when they're talking and then a ball just gets smacked and they have to go, chase after it, especially an outfielder.
They actually do play by play. Like, I'm going to get this ball or something like that.
Yeah, seen that.
This
really cool.
This entire, I was going to say weekend. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is kind of annoying. But this entire 3 days is made for the fans. So I think there's nothing wrong with just kind of changing the way the game works a little bit, and just make it enjoyable, make it fun for people to watch. And I'm also heartbroken because I have really bad luck with All-Star games. When I was interning in DC, the All-Star game was in Miami, which is where I technically lived and went to school. So I missed the All-Star game because I was interning in DC. And then the next year I was back in Florida, and then it was in DC. So I'm like, okay, we flop here. And then this year it's in Cleveland, and I can't be there for it, and Cleveland's home for me. So I've been like, when am I going to go to I feel like I missed my best 3 chances of being at an All-Star game now.
Man. Yeah, so All-Star game, that's on Tuesday. Tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm so confused on my dates. I'm starting to
it's
become
okay.
old. But NL versus AL, no World Series implications here, but just a fun time. And for the people who didn't make it, take your vacation, rest, and get ready for the second half.
Absolutely.
Oh, heck yeah, that's what I'm doing. I get the next few days off too since the T-backs are off. So I'm like, yes,
Enjoy
I'm
it,
going to
yeah.
lay by
Yes,
the pool and hang
enjoy
out.
it. Definitely. Most definitely.
It's a grind. The season,
Yeah.
it's a long season. So I know the people who, not only the athletes need the rest, but those who work for the team as well. So enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
well deserved, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just grind the second half
Yeah,
out,
that's right.
and you'll do great.
That's right.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see.
Yep. So, Claudia, one more time, let the fans know where to find you on social media and where to find your podcast for the fans.
Yeah, so you can find my social media is all the same. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Claudia N. Faust. It's my middle initial, Nicole. So Claudia N. Faust on Instagram and Twitter. And you can go to my website, which is claudiafaust.com, to listen to our podcast. And hopefully we will have it up on iTunes or Spotify or any of those fun, more accessible things soon.
Yeah, definitely look forward to hearing your next episode. And Claudia, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Really appreciate
Once
it.
again, we really appreciate it. So when we return, Dan and I will have some NBA conversation, more free agency news for you. So we'll be right back right after this. The Josh Kirby on Sports podcast, part of the Mayo Police Podcast Network, is presented by Rat 11 Chips. Make sure you try a bag it today. Martin's, Food Lion, and Giant. Now back to the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast. All right, we are back. Thanks to Claudia once again for joining us on that segment, but it's time to move on to some juicy free agency news in the NBA. Yes, very juicy, very hot, very spicy. Dan,
Yes.
as you know, Kawhi Leonard made his decision, and he just won a championship.
He shocked everyone.
He will not be loyal to Toronto. He is moving to the Los Angeles Clippers. No, not the Lakers, the Clippers. And he recruited Paul George, too. Your thoughts on this move?
Shocking. I think my reaction is the same as everyone.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, because no one expected this. I certainly didn't, and it's typical Kawhi Leonard. He stays quiet about it. He doesn't talk about it. His shy, sort of awkward demeanor. That's why I feel like this move is so him, right? Because if it was someone who was more, what's the word I'm looking for? Outgoing. I'm not going to say like LeBron, because LeBron made his decisions a big media frenzy, which, Kawhi did the complete opposite. But yeah, I'm shocked by this, and this again shows that the West, which was the case last year and is still the case this year, even though the Raptors won the championship, which I think was mostly because the Warriors are missing their best players, their two best players. The West has reloaded and to me, has many more contenders than the East has, especially now.
Yeah, they're way stacked now.
Yeah.
After this free agency so far, and who knows what's to come.
Yeah, it's just the beginning, so we'll see what happens. But you wanted those contract details,
Yes,
Josh.
the contract details. Dan, give us those juicy details.
Alrighty. So on Saturday, when his decision was announced, he agreed to a 4-year, $140.7 million deal. And that's the maximum contract. I don't know, it doesn't have... Does it have his guaranteed? It does not have his guaranteed money, but that's an insane amount of money for 4 years. But these contracts are, as just happens naturally with the more and more money that these leagues generate, like the NBA, you're going to see those contracts get higher and higher. So, do I think he's worth the money? Yeah, probably. But I mean, his base salary is, he's getting paid a heck of a lot more than he was going to make with Toronto because he had the 2019-2020 option with them. He declined, which was worth $21.3 million. So, it's partly to do with money, I think, but it also gives him an opportunity to challenge LeBron now in a whole different facet and the West in general. Again, I think that a lot of people think the Warriors are still going to be very tough to beat. I don't know if they're still the contenders because now a lot of people are saying, well, it's the Clippers. But look, all this stuff that happens in the offseason, it's impossible to tell what's going to happen, when the season starts in October, right? Because I think it's around Halloween, a little earlier than that.
Yeah.
Injuries, players who have legal problems, which doesn't happen that much in the NBA, not as much as it does in, say, the NFL. But especially injuries, because basketball is one of those sports where you just get worn down because it's a long season. You put a lot of strain on your knees and on your Achilles.
Kevin
You
Durant's
see a lot of those sort of injuries, yeah. So, and those can happen during summer ball. I saw Zion Williamson, who I'm very excited about because I'm a Pelicans fan, and they're a very young team and I think very intriguing. But now it's even tougher for them in the Western Conference. But I saw he hit knees with someone, and he is going to be out for the rest of the summer league play. It's not serious, but I think they're trying to make sure he's good to go come like I said, October. So anyway, back to what were we talking about again? It just slipped my mind completely. My mind wandered.
Kawhi Leonard?
Yes, Kawhi Leonard.
Huh.
Yeah.
Happy Monday, folks.
Yeah. I think I need more coffee, Josh. But yeah, they're the Clippers are a much better team now. But again, the hype about picking a contender now, picking them as a team that could challenge the Warriors, like I said, you just don't know. And a lot of people make their living, most people, especially in radio and TV, those hot takes all the time. Colin Cowherd is a person that comes to mind. Max Kellerman is another one. Will Kane, all those guys. They all have these hot takes, and we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. Because, like I said, you still have 3 months until the NBA season even starts, so you never know what's going to happen during the summer and during the offseason. Yeah,
and Kawhi recruited Paul George to come down there. That's another big move as well. And Kawhi and LeBron are going to be facing off a lot since they're sort of in the same arena.
They are in the same arena, Staples Center, yeah.
Sort of, like on different sides, different locker rooms. True. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and, a lot of people are asking the question now, where does Russell Westbrook, is he a reason, was there a rift between he and Paul George? Because he's had issues with Kevin Durant, most notably. Russell Westbrook's very, what's the word? Abrasive, I think would be the word, towards his teammates a lot of times. And I wonder if maybe he and Paul George didn't have that great of a relationship, and this is a way out for Paul George. I don't know. That's all speculation, but I'm sure we'll hear more about that as time goes on, just because, the media frenzy around both Paul George and especially Kawhi Leonard, who doesn't like the attention anyway, will be on them for a while until the season starts. But we'll see what happens. It's obviously, I think the Warriors they're not going to be as good next year. I think we can all agree with that, right? Because Kevin Durant's is going to miss the whole season next year.
He's playing for the Nets.
Well, yeah, but they said after his surgery he was probably going to miss all next year, though.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm surprised. Like I said in the last episode, I'm surprised they made that.
That was
move
surprising too. That was another surprising move.
Because you don't know if he's going to be 100% for next season.
He's
not.
I would be shocked if he plays 20 games next year. 20 games. That's my pick for him. Yeah. But it's strange. It's the NBA's weird now. That Kevin Durant thing was I almost missed that. It was a very small story compared to the Kawhi Leonard story. And I heard more about Kemba Walker signing with the Celtics than I did, which Kemba's a great player. He's underappreciated. I have some friends who are Charlotte Hornets fans who would agree with me, because Charlotte's a bad team, but he was by far their best player. So we'll see what happens, Josh. Yeah, I have to find out the details of Kevin Durant's contract. My computer has suddenly decided to be slow.
I have it in here. I think it was a 4-year, not really.
Yep, 4-year, $164 million.
Yep, there you go.
Got it right here.
4-year, 164. But if he doesn't play,
and Kyrie Irving too. The Nets are got 2 key players, so we'll see what happens.
yeah, and few little bits and pieces NBA trade wise. The Wizards traded Dwight Howard, who barely played a game.
Sucks.
I think Dwight Howard's gonna retire.
He should.
Yeah.
He sucks.
I mean, he got injured, barely played for Washington, and I think this is the end for Dwight Howard. And
I think the end has been for 2 or 3 years now. He just hasn't produced in years, quite frankly.
And last but not least, LeBron James giving Anthony Davis his number.
That's not really a story.
LeBron James is switching numbers.
Everything LeBron does is a story. LeBron woke up this morning.
It's
LeBron had
interesting.
cornflakes. I love LeBron, and honestly, LeBron's done a lot of great things for the NBA, and he has really helped the media exposure of the NBA. But he's also, some of the stories are just so insane. Like, why is this a story? Because it's LeBron. If it was any other player that gave their number to Anthony Davis, there might be a story in the sports section of, the LA Times or whatever, but it wouldn't be a nationwide story. So it's a strange media climate we live in, especially in sports and across the way in general. But that to me is a non-story. But you said you were going to bring it up.
Still interesting to talk about.
It must be a slow news day if that's the biggest story for whoever's putting it out there. I'm just saying, I know sometimes, those companies are trying to dig for stories, and if it involves LeBron, people want to hear it. It's true. People who follow the NBA, they want to know what LeBron's doing, and so that is what it is. But to me, it's a non-story. But that's just my opinion, I guess.
Yep.
And
so
no one cares about it.
That's all for this edition. Dan, any last thoughts?
I've been saying this for a while, but I'm ready for football season.
Oh yeah, I am too.
We're about a month away now, from preseason. Man. So and things are getting interesting there too.
The podcast. Oh man, NFL season. It's gonna be awesome.
Josh and I will have some grades right for all the teams. Schedules is coming up season.
Yeah,
right?
well, we're still trying to work this out, but before the season starts, we'll take a look at all 32 teams' NFL schedules and give them a strength of schedule grade. So be on the lookout for that. We're really excited for that one.
We'll probably break it down, and this is my idea. I don't know. I didn't talk to you about this, but by division, we'll do a different division every show, right? So we'll start with the AFC East or whatever.
Hey, still in the works, but yeah.
Still in the works. But that was my idea. We'll see what happens. But I'm ready for football season because this is that lull in the sports world where it's like there's not much going on now. And like I said, that's why that LeBron jersey story was so big because there was nothing else going on.
Yeah.
And final thoughts. My brain's pretty empty tonight, Josh. I don't have much to say.
It was fun. I'm glad
fun.
we could do it again. Dan, as always, thank you for coming on.
I'll try to be on every week from here until I don't know when. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, just wait. The podcast will come down to Blacksburg one time.
Hey, there we go.
That'd be nice.
That'd be cool. I'm sure I can find a place we can record.
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
so, thank you once again to Claudia Faust.
She was great.
Yeah. Make sure you check out her podcast, A League of Our Own. And as always, thank you to Dave Johnson, JR Beats Official, the Mayo Police Podcast Network for all that they do. And Route 11 Chips for sponsoring the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast. You can check us out social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Make sure you find us there, the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast.
You can't avoid us.
Yeah. We're everywhere. So multiple platforms, the best way to do it. So you get all the listeners that you can. But, yep, until the next episode, Dan and Josh signing off, and we will catch you next time. Peace
Out.
Yeah. We'll try better next time, but
We'll work on it.
yeah, till next time. Peace out. We'll catch you next time.